So today I'm going to teach you how to close read a passage. Close reading is a strategy that readers use when they're really trying to understand a passage and interpret its deeper meanings. So close reading is a very good strategy to use for any text that you may not understand. So these are the steps. This is your help page that you'll take when you close read a passage. You will preview the text by looking at the title and the guiding question. You will read it carefully, highlighting words that are difficult. You will then reread it closely, annotate and summarize, and respond to the text using evidence to support your answers. And when we get to step 3, you'll notice when it says annotate, these are the guidelines for when we annotate. We would highlight the words that are difficult in yellow, which we will also do in step 2. We're going to use a comment tool to add questions, connections, and any comments that we have. We're going to put stars next to important ideas, and usually important ideas are directly related to our guiding question. And we are also going to summarize after every single paragraph. And when we summarize, we always remember that we want to tell who the passage is about, where these people are located, when it's happening, and what specifically is going on. That's just a rule of thumb. You want to keep your 4 W's: who, where, when, and what. And keep it very succinct and specific. Don't add too much detail. So we're going to practice this process with one part of a text. So step 1, we're going to preview the text by looking at the title and the guiding question. So here's my passage, and I'm just going to read my title and my guiding question. Loss of culturally vital cattle leaves Dinka tribe adrift in refugee camps. And the guiding question says, how has the war, and specifically the loss of cattle, affected the Dinka? So based off of this title and this guiding question, I'm going to go ahead and make a prediction about what I think the passage is about. So we're going to highlight the title with our cursor, go to the comments box and click comment, and we're going to make our prediction. I think the passage is about well, if that's what the guiding question is in the title, it's going to answer my guiding question. So I guess the passage may be about how the war causes them to lose cattle and how it affects them. So I think the passage is about how the Dinka lose cattle during the war and how that affects their lifestyle, since it does say culturally, and we know we've talked about in class that culture is someone's lifestyle or beliefs. Oops. So how maybe it affects their lifestyle and beliefs. And I'll click the comment button. So now all I've done is I've made a prediction based off of that, and I'm ready to move on to step 2. Step 2 is I'm going to read it carefully. Typically we would do it as a group, and I'm going to highlight words that I think are difficult or that I don't understand. And since I can't read it as a group, I'm just going to read it independently. And I'm only going to do one small section of the text, but you would, for the most part, go through the whole text once through step 2. So here we go, starting with the first paragraph. The dancing begins at 7:25 a.m. as the thump of a drum splits the cool morning air in the Mangalator camp for the displaced. A bull's horn wails. A swell of song fills the air. Young men run and leap, legs splayed, Jordan-esque, heads rising above the hopping, singing, chanting, ululating crowd. So now I'm just going to highlight the words that are difficult for me, that I don't know the meaning of. I'm not quite sure what displaced means, so I'll put it in yellow. A swell of song fills the air. I'm not sure what swell of song means. Young men running leap legs. Splayed, I don't really know. Jordanesque or Jordanesque, I don't really know. And ululating, I don't really know. So it can be as many words that you don't know, or if you know all the words, you don't have to have words highlighted. But in this case, I have quite a few. So before I even move on, I'm going to define these words so that when I reread it, I can make more sense of it. And the way that we define it is we're going to look it up using our Control-Alt tool. So we'll press Control-Alt and go to define. So displace means to take over the place, position, or role of someone or something. And the synonym is just to take the place of or replace. So I'm just going to change this word to replaced. Swell means becoming larger or rounder or expanding. Synonym means expanding. So a swell of song, maybe that just means the song is getting bigger or louder. So I'm just going to put that. Louder. Then I'm going to go to splayed. And it says thrust or spread out and apart. So spread out. And I'll look up Jordanesque. And this one doesn't seem to have a dictionary on your computer, so the other option you can do is go to alldictionary.com and search that term there. Because sometimes it may just be a word that's not yet in the dictionary in Google Docs. So this says a word to define all kinds of excellence, a term or phrase regularly describe all types of greatness, perfection, or superiority, or flawlessness. So flawlessly. And now that I'm thinking about this more, it could probably have a relation to Michael Jordan. It could be like Michael Jordan since these people are jumping and running. So perhaps like Michael Jordan, I'm going to add to. And the last word is ululating. And that one says, howl or wail as an expression of strong emotion. So I'm going to just put emotional. So what I've done is I've done all of step 2. And now I'm going to move on to step 3. I'm going to reread that passage closely. And this time I'm going to annotate or take notes as I read by commenting or starring important ideas. And I'm also going to summarize the paragraph, telling you who, where, when, and what. Keep in mind, when you annotate each section of the text, you may not have to use all of these tools. If I read this and I don't have any comments or questions, you don't have to have it. Or if I don't see any important ideas, you don't have to have stars. But overall, throughout the entire passage, I should have at least one of each of these. So I'm going to go back and I'll reread it. The dancing begins at 7:25 a.m. And in my head, I know that that's early in the morning, so I'm just going to make a comment because I think it's important. That's early in the morning. As the thump of a drum splits the cool morning air. So they're banging drums. in the Manglator camp for the replaced. A bull's horn wails. A expanding song fills the air. So it's getting bigger. Young men run and leap, legs spread out flawlessly, like Michael Jordan. Now that makes sense. Heads rising above the hopping, singing, chanting, emotional crowd. So now I have a little bit of an understanding of it, and I'm just going to summarize it to put it all together. Who is this mostly about? It doesn't tell me anyone specifically. I just know that it's a bunch of people or young men. So people. Where are they at? It says they are in the Manglator camp, so they're at a camp. So people in a camp. When is this happening? 7:25 in the morning, so early in the morning. People in a camp, so I'm just going to add that to the beginning. In the morning, in the early morning, people in a camp. And what are these people doing? Well, they're doing a couple different things, so I just want to summarize that. They're dancing, and they're singing and chanting. So it sounds to me like they're celebrating something. So in the early morning, people in a camp celebrate. And that is step 3 of close reading. What you would do is you would go through the entire excerpt or article, and you would do that with every paragraph so that eventually you would be able to summarize the entire article to give you a better understanding of it. And you would also be able to answer how the war has affected the Dinka. What I just read is kind of a brief introduction, so it doesn't give you a lot of that information, but later on it would. So if you read forward, you would be able to see each of those things. So if you'd like to read forward in this article, this is probably the same article you'll be tested on. You can use this to read through it now, just by pausing it at different parts to see the whole article. And we will review this this week before the test as well. So good luck, and remember to ask me any questions before Thursday if you have any.